Hello everyone, thank you very much for uh, joining me for this session. So I would like to pull your attention to a new chapter in chapter 12. Okay, we will discuss about the economic of information. Okay, economic of information. For the last chapter, uh, we show how that markup rule come into existence if a firm is monopolistic or monopolistically competitive. So the elasticity from the firm demand function can be used to find a markup factor that will maximize the firm's profit. So if a manager operate in a common oligopoly, so the firm's own price elasticity is simply the number of firm in the market times the market elasticity. So knowing this, a manager in this kind of market can easily calculate the appropriate markup rule for his or her pricing strategy. So in some markets, the manager can actually do better than the single monopoly price. Okay. So this can be accomplished through price discrimination of two-part pricing, and there's other pricing strategy that enhance profit include peak load pricing, block pricing, commodity bundling, cross subsidization, and optimal transfer pricing. Okay. So for the last chapter, if you recap again, okay, the chapter concluded with a description of strategies that can help managers in veteran oligopoly avoid the tendency towards zero economic profit. So in this chapter, okay, we try to identify in this economics of information chapter, we try to identify strategies to manage risk and uncertainty. Okay, uncertainty, including diversification and optimal search strategies. We will calculate the profit maximizing output and price in an environment of uncertainty. And we will explain in this chapter why asymmetric information about hidden action or hidden characteristic can lead to moral hazard and adverse selection, and identify the strategies for mitigating this potential problem. And we will explain also differing option rule and information structures impact the incentive in options, and determine the optimal bidding strategies in a variety of options with independent or correlated values. Okay. For that purpose, we will uh, try to overview a few of these subsection of this chapter. Okay, the mean and the variance, uncertainty and consumer behavior, uncertainty and the firm, uncertainty and the market, and last but not least of this section, options and options. So before we discuss about this means, okay, I would like to pull your attention again throughout of this learning from chapter 1 until chapter 11. So we have assumed that participants in the market process, both consumer and firms, enjoy the benefit of perfect information. So one need not look very hard at the real world to notice that this assumption is more fiction than fact. Nevertheless, our analysis in the preceding chapter can help us understand the market process. In fact, they are the basis for more complicated analysis that incorporates the effect of uncertainty and imperfect information. For advanced courses in economic build on the foundation set forth in earlier chapters by relaxing the assumption that people enjoy perfect information, while a formal theoretical model of decision making in the presence of imperfect information are well beyond the scope of this subject. It is useful to present an overview of some of more important aspect of decision making under uncertainty. So first, we will describe more formally that what we mean by uncertainty, and examine the impact of uncertainty on consumer behavior. Then we will briefly demonstrate means by which the manager can cope with risk. Finally, we will look at several important implications of uncertainty on the market process, including option market. Okay. So the easiest way to summarize information about uncertain outcome is to use the statistical concept of the mean and the variance of a random variable. More specifically, suppose there is some uncertainty regarding the value of some variable. So the random variables uh, might represent a profit. The random variable might represent profit, the price of output, or consumer income. Okay. So the expected value or average of a random variables they are computed as the sum of probabilities that a different outcome will occur multiplied by the resulting payoff. Okay. So where x, you can see from here, where xi is a payoff or I, qi is probably the payoff. I occurs and quantity 1 plus quantity 2 plus and so on until ends equal to 1. So the mean provide information about the average value. Okay, so as this is very simple to define. Mean as about the average. It's about the average value. Okay, of a random variable, but yield no information about the degree of risk associated with the random variable. Okay. That's the expected value of random variable. Okay. So we can see that's as a sum of probabilities that a different outcome will occur times the resulting the payoff. Okay. And the variant of a variable, or the variant of a variable, a random variable, is the sum of probabilities that different outcome will occur time the square deviation from the means of the random variable. Yeah. So variance, we use that to measure a measure of risk, and then the sum of probabilities that different outcome will occur multiplied by square deviation, right, from the means of the random variable. So as we can see from this equation, square deviation, okay, from the means of the random variable. Okay. And then the standard deviation refer to the square root of the variance. So high variance, that means standard deviation are associated with higher degree of risk. So if we are very familiar about the statistic, we especially for those who ever do a research in social science using the statistical package for social science, you can relate the standard deviation with a very uh, with a result that we can see a lot of outliers. So in this example, in this purpose, okay, we can see there's a high variance, okay, relate or associated with a higher degree of risk. Okay. So now that you understand how to calculate the mean and variance of an uncertain outcome, so we will see how that the presence of uncertainty affect economic decision of both consumers and managers. Okay, for both consumers and managers. Okay, and we will see the concept of risk aversion. Okay, risk aversion. So in chapter 4, we assume consumer have preferences for a bundle of goods, which were assumed to be known with certainty. So we now will extend our analysis to preferences over uncertain outcomes. Uncertain outcome. So risk averse, an individual will prefer a sure amount of uh, few millions or a few of money amount of money to risky prospect with an aspect and with an expected value of money. So and then risk loving, okay, refer to the behavior. You can see the consumer behavior. That's individual who prefer a risky prospect with an expected value, yeah, of money to a sure amount of money. Yeah. And then risk neutral. That's an individual who is indifferent between risky prospect where, yeah, uh, EX equal to the money and a sure amount of money. So, so this is an example of how risk aversion influence decision. For example, in products quality, chain store, online review, insurance. For product quality, the analysis of risk can be used to analyze situation where consumers are uncertain about the product quality. For instance, suppose a consumer regularly purchases a particular brand of a car wax and thus is relatively certain about the underlying quality and characteristic of the product. So if the consumer is risk averse, when will she be willing to purchase a car wax newly introduced to the market? So a risk averse consumer prefer a sure thing to an uncertain prospect of equal expected value. Thus, if the consumer expect the new car wax to work just as well as the one she regularly purchases, then other things equal, so she will not buy the new car, the new product, a new wax. Okay. The reason is that there is a risk associated with using a new product. The new wax may make a car look much better than the old wax, or it may damage the paint on the car. So when the consumer weighs these possibilities and concludes that the new wax is expected to be just as good as the wax she now uses, so she decided not to buy the new product. So the consumer prefer the sure thing. Consumer prefer the sure thing, okay, the current brand to the risky prospect, the new product. So firms use through two primary tactics to induce a risk-averse consumer to try a new product. First, the firm's manager may lower the price of a new product below that of the existing product to compensate the consumer for risk associated with trying the new product. Okay. So with firms send out free samples, they essentially use this technique because to the consumer, the price of new product is zero. So alternatively, the manager can attempt to make the consumer think that the expected quality of the new product is higher than the certain quality of the old product. So typically, firms do this using comparison advertising. For example, the advertisement might show 50 cars being waxed with a new wax and 50 car being waxed with a competitor's product. Then the cars are repeatedly washed until only the 50 car wax with the new product still shine. So if consumers are convinced by such an advertisement, they may go ahead and purchase the new product because its higher expected quality offset the risk associated with trying a new product. Okay. And the second example, that's how risk aversion influences the decision in terms of a chain store. So risk aversion also explain why is maybe in a firm's interest to become a part of chain store instead of remaining independent. For example, suppose a consumer drive through a small town in one country and decide to eat lunch. Okay, so there are two restaurant in the town, a local dinner and a national hamburger chain. So while the consumer knows nothing about this particular dinner, his experience suggests that the local dinner typically are either very good or maybe very bad. So on the other hand, national hamburger chains can have a standardized menus and ingredient. Yeah? So the type and quality of product offered are relatively certain. Yeah? That's what we call as a bit of average quality. Because the consumer is risk averse, he will choose to eat at the national chain unless he expect the product of the local dinner to be sufficiently better than the chain restaurant. So there is nothing special about the restaurant example. Yes, similar example apply to retailing outlet, transmission shop, and other type of store. So while there are exception out of town, visitors typically prefer to make purchase or at chain store. So local customer are in a better position to know for certain the type and quality of product offered at store in their town, and may shop at a local store instead of the national chain. So the key thing to notice is that even the local store offer a better product than a national chain. So the national chain can remain in business if the number of out of town consumer is large enough. And then other example that's influence high how that's a high reservation to consumer decision in terms of online review. Okay, online review. So this is very common now as we go through a lot of information from our website or internet. So the easy flow of information on the internet has simplified the process of submitting and making publicly available consumer reviews. So you can just go from any website that have a customer reviews. All right. So this can influence and can attract or can influence or can help the consumer to make a decision. Okay, and then another ones that's can influence the decision of consumer. Okay, is insurance. So the fact that consumer are risk averse implies that they are willing to pay to avoid risk. So this is precisely how individuals choose to buy insurance on their homes and automobiles. By buying insurance, individuals give up a small relative to potential losses amount of money to eliminate the risk associated with catastrophic loss. So for example, if 100,000 house burn down and uninsured homeowner losses up to 100,000. So if it does not burn down, the homeowner loses nothing. From most homeowners are willing to pay several $100 to avoid this risk. So if the house burned down, the insurance company reimburse the homeowner for the loss. Thus, to a consumer, insurance represent a purchase of sure thing. As represent purchase of sure thing. So a house that is worth 100,000 regardless of whether or not it's burned down. So some firms give insurance to consumer through money back guarantees. So other firms sell a form of insurance to consumers. For example, many car manufacturers sell extended warranty plans to customers whereby the company agree to pay a repair cost. So this eliminates the risk associated with owning a car, thus making car ownership more attractive to risk averse consumer. Okay. So in the situation where you can see the price uncertainty and consumer search, up until now we have assumed consumer know the price of good with certainty. So the analysis is more complicated in situation where consumer do not know the prices charged by different firm for the same product. So suppose consumer do not know the prices charged by a different store for some homogeneous commodity. Suppose further that there are numerous store charging different prices for the same brand of watch. So a consumer would like to purchase the product from the store charging the lowest price, but she do not know the price being charged by individual store. Okay. So let's say that you can see from here, okay, the consumer want to purchase the product at lowest price possible, but also occurs a cost. So they not as a C to acquire price information. That's cost for consumer search. Okay, so there is a free recall and with replacement. Free recall means a consumer can return to any previously visited store. So then the consumer reservation price at which the consumer is indifferent between purchasing and continuing to search, what we call we can denote as R. So when should a consumer keys searching for price information? Okay, so we can put in okay, this equation. Consumer will search until okay, R. Okay, you can see from this search. Okay, continue to search until okay. Okay, this put in this equation, and therefore a consumer will continue to search for a lower price when the observed price is greater than R, and stop searching when the observed price is less than R. Okay, so you can see from this okay, consumer search in graph here more clearly the optimal search strategy. So they are searching and that's a strategy. Okay, until you can see there's a reserve price. Okay, this is the maximums. Okay, they can search. So the consumer should search for a lower price so long as the expected benefit are greater than the cost of an additional search. So for example, in this graph you can see let's say the cost of each search is $5. So the consumer will find it in her interest to continue to search for a lower price. So but if the cost of searching once more for a lower price it does not pay. It does not pay to continue searching for a better price. Okay. So this example reveal that expected benefit of searching depend on the lowest price, lowest price found during the previous search. So if the lowest price is P, let's say the expected benefit EB for searching for the price lower than P, slope upward. Okay. And when you can see from here, okay, from this graph, this is because the expected benefit of searching of an even lower price are less than the cost of searching. So if the consumer located at a price of R, she would be indifferent between purchasing at a price and continue to search for the lower price, for the lower price. And that's the reservation price. R is okay, is the price at which the consumer is indifferent between purchasing at price and searching for a lower price. Okay. So formally, EB expected benefits is for of searching for a lower price. Then uh, P and C represent the cost of purchase. So what happens if the cost of searching increases? Okay. So as shown from this graph, you can see an increase in search cost shift up the horizontal line to C plus. You can see from here increase, okay, to C plus, resulting in a higher higher reservation price, higher reservation price. Okay. So this means the consumer will now find more price acceptable and will search less intensively. So similarly, if the cost of searching for lower price falls, the consumer will search more heavily for lower price. Okay. So our analysis of consumer decision to shop for lower prices can be used to aid managers in setting price. So in particular, when consumer have imperfect information about prices and search costs are low, so the optimal prices set by a manager will be lower than when search costs are high. Moreover, a manager must be careful not to price their product above the consumer reservation price. Doing so will induce consumer to seek out lower price at other firms. So if you observe a large number of consumer browsing in your store but not making purchase, so you can trace it. Maybe if you are quite familiar, for example, uh, in internet marketing, some of the internet marketing website can offer uh, the data or information that people go browse and visit your website, but they not purchase anything. Okay, so it may be a sign that your price are set above their reservation price, and that's they have decided to continue to search for a lower price. So again, if you still remember at the earlier slide that I explained about this uncertainty and reservation not only implies to consumer but also to a firm, to a firm. So uncertainty and the firm also have a relation here. So we have seen that presence of uncertainty has a direct impact on consumer behavior. And that the firm's manager must take this effect into account to fully understand the nature of consumer demand. So uncertainty also affect the manager's input and output decision. So in this section, we will examine the implication of uncertainty for production and output decision. Okay, so it is important to point out that all our analysis of the impact of uncertainty on consumer behavior is directly applicable to the firm's manager. So we will briefly discuss extension of the analysis of uncertainty to highlight its direct influence on managerial decision. Okay. So first one, okay, you can see from this point, okay, reservation are managers risk averse or neutral. Risk averse or risk neutral. So just as consumer have preferences regarding risky prospect, so does the manager of the firm. A manager who is risk neutral is interested in maximizing expected profit. Okay, and the variance of profit does not affect a risk neutral manager's decision. So if the manager is risk averse, he or she may prefer a risky project with a lower expected value if it has lower risk than one with a higher expected value. So alternatively, if given a choice between a risky project with an expected return of let's say $1 million and a certain return of $1 million, so a risk averse manager, okay, will prefer the sure thing. Okay, the sure thing. For manager to be willing to undertake risky project, the project must offer a higher expected return than a comparable safe project. So just how much higher depend on the manager's particular risk preferences. So whenever a manager faces a decision to choose among risky project, it is important to carefully evaluate the risk and expected return of the project and then to document this evaluation. So the reason is simple. Okay, risky prospect may result in bad outcomes. Okay, so a manager is less likely to get fired over a bad outcome if or he provides evidence that's based on the information available at the time the decision was made. So the decision was sound. A convenient way to do this is to use a mean variant analysis. As the next demonstration problem can illustrate. So that's the difference between the risk averse and risk neutral manager. And then the second point you can see from here is diversification. Diversification. So it is normal for a manager to make a decisions that can handle or manage uh, risk wisely. And one of the very common way to do is to don't put all your egg in one basket. Okay, so this principle normally can be used not only for manager but for any individual who planning to do investment, for example. So they don't keep their money in the one's investment. Sometimes they will divide into a few investment, and then that the risk will be lower. Okay, and then profit maximization. Profit maximization. Okay, So the basic principle of profit maximization can also be modified to deal with uncertainty. So to illustrate how the basic principle of profit maximization are affected by the presence of uncertainty. So let us suppose the manager is risk neutral and demand is uncertain. Okay. So recall that the goal of risk neutral manager is to maximize expected profit. Okay, maximize not the sure one. That's the manager who try to maximize the expected profit. So the risk neutral manager must determine what output to produce before she is certain of the demand for the product. Okay, so because demand is uncertain, so revenues are uncertain. Yeah. So this means this means that to maximize expected profit, the manager should equate expected marginal revenue, expected marginal revenue, okay, with marginal cost is in setting output, in setting output. So that's normally we can put is EMR equal to MC. So is okay, can help manager to make a decision. So the reason is simple. If expected marginal revenue exceeded marginal cost, so the manager could increase expected profit by expanding the output. Okay, so the production of another unit of output would on average add more to revenue than it would to cost. So similarly, if expected marginal revenue were less than marginal cost, so the manager should reduce the output. Okay, so this is because by reducing output, the firm would reduce cost by more than it would reduce expected revenue. Okay, thus we see that's when the manager is risk neutral, profit maximization under uncertain demand is very similar. Is very similar to profit maximization under certainty. So all the managers need to do this is to adjust the corresponding formula to represent the expected marginal revenue. Okay. So while our analysis of profit maximization under uncertainty is far from exhaustive, it's point out that much of our previous analysis can be easily extended to deal with uncertainty. So in fact, these extensions are important. Topic is more advanced courses in economics. So this is example for profit maximization in uncertain environment. That's okay. Suppose that economists predict that there is a 20% chance that the price in a competitive wheat market will be $5.62 per bushel, and 80% chance that the competitive price of wheat will be okay $2.98 cent per bushel. So if a farmer can produce wheat at cost, okay, say CQ equal to 20, okay, plus 0.01 Q. So how many bushel of wheat would should he produce? So what are his expected profit? So by extracting all the information in this equation, you can see from here. Okay, so expected price that we can expect from here is $3.5. So in a competitive market, firms produce where okay EP equal to MC or 3.508 equal to 0.01 Q. So that's Q equal to 350.8 bushels. So expected profit for this can get up to 227.1. Okay. Okay, the presence of uncertainty can have a profound impact on the ability of market to efficiently allocate resources. So in this section, we examine some problem created in market when there is uncertainty. So we also show how managers and other market participants can overcome some of this problem. Some of this problem. Okay, when some people in the market have better information than others, the people with the least information may choose not to participate in the market. To see why this is so, suppose someone offers to sell you a box full of money. So you do not know how much money in the box, but she does. So should you choose to buy the box or not? So the answer is no. So since she knows how much money is in the box, she will never sell you the box unless you offer her more for the box than is in it. Suppose you know the box of contain, let's say, $10. If you offer her $6 for the box, okay, so she would not have no incentive to engage in the transaction. But if you offer her $12, so she would gladly sell you the box, and you would lose $2. Okay. So as the preceding example reveals, asymmetric information can result in a situation where people with the least information rationally refuse to participate in the market. So if you think of the box in the example as being a company whose stock in a traded on a stock market, in a stock exchange, so it should be clear why there is so much concern over insider trading. So the buying and selling of stock by person who have privileged information about a firm. So if some people know, okay, if some people know for certain what a stock will sell for tomorrow, say due to take over, and others do not. So asymmetric information exists. Asymmetric information exists. Okay. Go unknowns call. Okay. So that's asymmetric information exists, and then the only time insider will purchase the stock is when they know it is selling at a price below what it is worth. So the only time insider will sell stock is when they know it is selling at a premium over what it is worth. So if people know the insider regularly trade in the stock market, people who are not insider may rationally choose to stay out of the stock market to avoid paying too much for stock or selling it for too little. So in extreme cases, this situation can completely destroy the stock market, as no one is willing to buy or sell shares of firm stock. For this reason, and so we will discuss more further about this later. Okay, uh, there are a law that restrict person with privileged information about firm from buying share of the firm stock. So asymmetric information between consumers and the firm can affect a firm's profit. For example, suppose a firm invests in developing a new product that it knows to be superior to existing product in the market. The consumer, on the other hand, are unlikely to know whether the new product is truly superior to existing product, or whether the firm is falsely claiming the product to be superior. So if the degree of asymmetric information is severe enough, okay, consumer may refuse to buy a new product even if it really is better than existing product. So the reason is that they do not know the product is indeed superior. So asymmetric information affect many other managerial decisions, including hiring workers, issuing credit to consumers. So in particular, job applicants have much better information about their own capabilities than does the person in charge of hiring new workers. Okay, a job applicant who claim to have excellent skills may be lying or telling the truth. Yeah, So the personnel manager or human resource manager has less information than the applicant. So this is why firms spend considerable sum designing tests to evaluate job applicant. So doing background check and the basic reason for this type of expenditure is to provide the firm with better information about the capabilities and tendencies of job applicant. Similarly, a consumer who wishes to make a purchase on credit has much better information about his ability to pay off the debts than does the creditor. So of course, every consumer seeking to purchase on credit will claim that he or she will pay off the debt. So asymmetric information make it difficult for the firm to know whether a person actually will pay off the debt. Okay, so in fact, firms pay sizable sums to credit bureau to obtain better information about their credit consumers. Okay, so this expenditure reduce asymmetric information and make it more difficult for consumer to take advantage of it. Okay, so with this overview of some problem that can arise in the present of asymmetric information, we turn now to two specific manifestation of asymmetric information. Okay, first, adverse selection and moral hazard. These two concepts are often difficult to distinguish. Okay, so it is useful first to distinguish between the type of asymmetric information that generally lead to adverse selection and moral hazard. Okay. Okay. Two type of asymmetric information, hidden characteristic. Okay, things one party to a transaction knows about itself but which are known by the other party. And then hidden action taken by one party in a relationship that cannot be observed by other party. Okay, so adverse selection refers to for a situation where a selection process result in a pool of individuals with economically undesirable characteristic. A simple example highlights the basic issue involved in adverse selection and adverse selection. Okay, so this is about the situation where individual have hidden characteristic in which a selection process result in pool of individual with undesirable characteristic. So there are some example here. Okay, for example, choices of medical plan, high interest loans, auto insurance for driver with bad record. Okay, okay. Selection explain why people with poor driving record find it difficult to buy automobile insurance. Okay, suppose there are two type of people with bad driving records. The first are those who are poor driver and frequently have accident, and those who are good driver but purely to bad luck have been involved in numerous accidents in the past. So past accident by bad driver are a result of their driving habit and are good indicator of the number of expected value future accident. So past accident by good drivers on the other hand, okay, are not good indicator to the expected number of future accident. They merely reflects an unusual string of a bad luck. So this is our example. Okay, in insurance for drivers. Okay, medical plan. Okay, and then moral hazard. Okay, there is a situation where one party to a contract takes a hidden action. Okay, then that's a benefit him or her at the expense of another party. Okay, so sometimes when two party engage in a contract, one party agree to insulate the other party from economic loss. So if the contract induce the party that is insulated from loss to take a hidden action that harms the other party, so we say that's a moral hazard exists. Or moral hazard exists. So some example for like, okay, what happened in the problem of principal agent problem, and care taken by rental cars. So that's good example in moral hazard. Okay. So there are some of possible solution for that. Okay, for what we discussed about the moral hazards. Okay, the first one you can see signaling. Signaling occur when signalings, okay, occurs when an informed party send a signal or indicator of his or her hidden characteristic to an uninformed party in an attempt to provide information about this hidden characteristic. So in product markets, firms use a host of devices to signal products quality to consumer. What we call as like some money back guarantees, free trial periods, and packaging label that's indicate the product has won a special award, or that the manufacturer has been in the business since maybe 50 years ago, or maybe 100 years ago. So in the labor market, job applicants attempt to signal their ability through resume that's touts their degree, their pedigree, the school of at which they earn an undergraduate degree, or the fact that they earn an advanced degree such as MBA or PhD. For a signal to provide useful information to an otherwise uninformed party, the signal must be observable by the uninformed party. So moreover, the signal must be a reliable indicator of the underlying unobservable characteristic, and difficult for parties with other characteristic to easily mimic. So to be concrete, consider a manager who wishes to hire a worker from an employment pool that consists of two type of individual. First one maybe unproductive workers who produce nothing, and the second productive worker who each has a value of marginal product maybe let's say 80,000 per year. So obviously, if the labor market is perfectly competitive and the market and the manager can observe the productivity of workers before hiring them, unproductive worker will earn a salary of zero, and the productive worker will earn a salary that equal their value marginal product, let's say 80,000 per year. Okay. And that's another solution you can see from here. Okay, that's an attempt of uninformed party to sort an individual according to their characteristic, according to their characteristic. Okay, so often accomplished through a self selection device, like a mechanism in which informed parties are presented with a set of options, and the option they choose reveals their hidden characteristic to an uninformed party. Okay. Okay, in an auction, potential buyer compete for the right to own a good, service, or more generally anything of value. So auction are used to sell a variety of things, including arts, okay, treasury bills, furniture, real estate, okay, oil leases, okay, corporation, okay, in even in some of fish market in Japan, you can see they do auction, they are implement the auction, okay. There are four basic type of auction, you can see from here, okay. The first you can see from here, okay, English auction, first price seal bid, second price seal bid, and then Dutch, okay. See English auction, okay. See English auction, that's normally an ascending sequential bid auction, and then some bidders observe the bid of others and decide whether or not to increase the bid or not, so the item is sold to the highest bidder, okay. So you can see a lot of auction program in television, using this kind of auction, for those who offer the higher price, then and because nobody would like to bid his or her price, so his or her uh, she will won that auction, okay. So that's very simple and very common. I think a lot of you quite familiar with this English auction. And first, this is first price seal bid. It's an auction whereby bidders simultaneously submit bids on pieces of paper, and the item goes to the highest bidder. Bidders do not know the bid of other players, so this is not really open information for all bidders. Okay. So unlike in English auction, the bidder do not know the bids of other player. Okay. So as we will see, this characteristic can affect a bidding behavior, can affect the bidding behavior, and consequently the price collected by the auctioneer. Okay. And then you can see that one, the second price seal bid. This is same bidding process as a first price seal bid auction. However, the high bidder pays the amount bid by the second highest bidder. Okay, it is quite similar to the first price seal bid auction. Yeah. So the person submitted the highest bid wins, but has to pay only the amount bid by the second highest bidder. Consider, for instance, the situation where a machine is auctioned off to one of three firms in a second price seal bid auction. So if firm A, let's say, bid 1 million, firm B bids 2 million, firm C bids 1.5 million. So then the high bidder, firm B, firm B that offer 2 million, win the item, but it's pay only the second highest bid, the second highest bid, which is 1.5 million. Okay, 1.5 million. So this is the way that second price seal bids work. And then Dutch auction, okay, that Dutch auction, this is a descending price auction from the high to low, so the auctioneer begin with a high asking price, okay, and the bid decreases until one bidder is willing to pay the quoted price, so strategically equivalent to a price first price seal bid auction. So this also can affect to the behavior of buyer or consumer. Okay. So the four basics type of auction differ with respect to the information bidders have about the bids of other player. So in the English auction, player knows the current bid and can choose to raise if they so desire. So in the other three type of auction, player make bid without knowledge of other players' bid. They cannot decide to increase their own bids based on bids made by others. So in analyzing an auction, it is also important to consider the information players have about their valuation of the item being auctioned. So one possibility is that each bidder in an auction knows for certain what the item is worth. And furthermore, okay, all players knows the value of other player in an auction. Okay. Okay, so in information structure, you can see in perfect information, each bidder knows exactly the item worth. Okay, and then independent private values. Okay, bidder knows their own valuation of the item, but not other bidders' valuation. So bidders' valuation do not depend on those of other bidders. Affiliated or correlated value estimates, that bidder do not know their own value of the item or the valuation of others. So bidders use their own information to form a value estimates, and value estimates are affiliated. Value estimates are affiliated. The higher a bidder estimate, the more likely it is that other bidders also have high value estimates. Okay. So common value is the special case, yeah, normally in which the true or but unknown value of the item is the same for all bidders. Okay. So this optimal bidding strategy in an English auction with independent private valuation. The optimal strategy is to remain active. Okay. Okay, remain active until the price exceed your own valuation of object. So that's very straightforward strategy. Okay, just remain active until you think that's your own valuations. At least the price exceed your own valuation. Okay, and then this is what they call as a dominant strategy. So you don't pay your own bid, so bidding less than your value and only increases the chance that you don't win. Okay, so only increase, okay, the chance you don't win. Okay, the chance for you to not win. If you bid more than your valuation, you risk buying the item for more than it is worth for you. And then this is optimal bidding strategy in the first price seal bid auction. So if there are n bidder, some amount of bidder who all perceive independent and private valuation to be evenly or uniformly distributed between a lowest possible valuation of L and the highest possible valuation of H. Okay, so that's the optimal bid for a risk neutral player whose own valuation is V. Okay, so it depends on this situation. So B is denote the player's optimal bid. B is denote for player's optimal bid. For example, in here, okay, two bidders with independent private valuation. I mean n equal to 2. So the lowest perceived valuation is unity. Let's say L, okay, the lowest equal to 1. So optimal bid for a player whose valuation is 2. V equal to 2 is given by, you can see from here, if they put all the information, can get, okay, uh, The price the price is 1.5 dollar. And in the strategy for optimal bidding with correlated value estimates, okay, this is difficult to describe because bidder do not know their own valuation of the item, so let's alone the valuations others, okay. And the auction process itself may reveal information about how much the other bidders value the object. So optimal bidding requires that players use any information gained during the auction to update their own value estimates. Okay. So this is also uncertainty situation. Again, uncertainty situation. Okay. Okay. And it's the winner's curse. The winner's curse. In a common value auction, the winner is the bidder who is the most optimistic about the true value of the item. So to avoid the winner's curse, a bidder should revise downward his or her private estimate of the value to account for this fact. So the winner's curse is most pronounced in sealed bid auction. So to avoid the winner's curse, a bidder or we must should revise the downward or our estimate of the value to account of for these facts. Okay. Okay, this is how that we can see the expected revenue in auction with risk neutral bidder. Risk neutral bidders. Okay, and you can see independent private value by English. Second price, first price, or Dutch is equal. So in independence private value, we can see whatever uh, type of bidding, okay, the expected revenue should be equal. Okay. But in affiliated value estimates, you can see English normally bigger than second price, the second price bigger than first price, and first price can be equal to Dutch. So bids are more closely linked to other players' information. More closely linked to other players' information. Okay, which mitigates players' concern about the winners curse. Okay. So in conclusion for this chapter, information plays an important role in how economics agents make a decision. Okay. So when information is costly to acquire, consumer will continue to search for price information as long as the observed price is greater than the consumer reservation price. So that's what we explained in the earlier slide. That's reservation price. So when there is uncertainty surrounding the price, a firm can charge. A firm maximizes profit at the point where the expected marginal revenue equals marginal cost. And you can see okay, a few of okay, type in auction actually. Okay, uh, rely on information and uh, there are many items sold in via auction. Okay. Okay, that's all for this chapter. Okay. Until now, thank you very much. Okay, have a nice day and see you again.